The difficulty and the beauty of working in Tasmania is that it is a really unique environment and you have to figure out where you fit in that. Yeah, the landscape in Tasmania is a really interesting place to be a creative, and I think it's a really rich place where there's so many people who are drawn to Tasmania to be creative. And so I love that idea of sharing our knowledge with each other rather than trying to put up walls. That's not me at all. My first job out of art school was as a full-time graphic designer in a local studio. And I really loved that work. And I did that for a while before I had my family. And while I was doing it, that was fantastic. But towards the sort of 5-year mark of doing graphic design, mainly graphic design, I really felt this pull to be doing more illustration. And it tied in really well for the ages that my kids were as well. It started out that I wanted to make a numbers poster and an ABC poster for my children. So I started illustrating for my children, and then people were interested in it. So I started making posters and prints and cards and doing markets and things like that. And I had a bit of a season of that style of work where I was an illustrator selling wholesale and online as well. And then my kids all started going to school and I decided it was time for a bit of a new season. And I had the opportunity, I was invited to start teaching at university as a tutor there. And from that, I started teaching at TasTAFE as well and was a graphic design teacher at TasTAFE. And that was probably like another 5 years where I was doing that, which I really loved, and I miss that as well. But then moved into mural painting. So something that I think, even though I've had these different sections of my career where I sort of was doing purely graphic design, and then I was doing illustration, but still with a bit of graphic design. And then I was doing teaching, but with graphic design and illustration. And then, now I'm doing a lot of mural work, which has been fantastic, but I'm still doing the graphic design and illustration and teaching in the form of mentorship, which is taking my favourite bits, I guess, of all of those parts of the career and making, I was sort of saying before, like my Frankenstein's monster career, like jamming them all together into something that I really love and just keep adding to it. For my murals, I really try and get a sense of movement. I think it's really valuable in murals to not just think about how a mural will look overall if someone's standing back from it and viewing it, because with murals you don't always have that opportunity to stand back and look at it, even though it's a really big work. I really like to have points of interest within it, but also movement, because often my murals are in places that people are moving past or engaging with a space. Part of the way that I have designed is always to think about, right, what's the crux of the thing that we're trying to show? How do we simplify those ideas into a visual language? And I guess that's part of what I've taken into my mural work as well, is that I don't need to show everything, because people bring their own understanding of shapes and symbols and visuals with them, and colour palettes too. We have this library of visual information that we've all gathered over our lives that you're bringing to any work that you're looking at. And so I can tell a story without having to tell all the intricacies, because people bring their own intricacies to it. And sometimes by leaving it a little bit more sort of flat and illustrative, I feel like hopefully, I'm making space for that, for people to bring their own understanding to it and their own ideas to it. Trying to capture in a lot of my work just how amazing our endemic species are and how they can be celebrated, and how a lot of people can connect with them because they will have seen those in their environment, which is another really important thing that I try and show through my work, is everyday people using a space, being able to look at a work and recognising something within it I often start with like really bleak walls that are just grey, and, you know, maybe they're a little bit damaged looking. And then at the end, when you can stand back and there's an artwork and it's bright and it just really changes the feeling of the space, that's really satisfying. And I love that more of that's happening. I think that even just in the last sort of 4 years that I've been painting, more and more councils, more and more schools, more and more places are saying, yes, we want more of this kind of artwork in the environment because it's so good for so many people. And one of the projects that I'll be painting in a few months' time is for Risdon Prison, and they're creating a new kitchen skills area, and there's a walkway between the prison and the kitchen skills area. And I thought this would be a fantastic story to talk about our amazing native plants that are edible, but that's not my story to tell. And I think it's incredibly important to be speaking to the correct people about that. So it was wonderful to make a connection with Katana Mansell, who runs a catering business called Palawa Kipli. And I was able to talk with her about not just what were the important species, but the idea of this abundance of food that's in our natural habitat. And so through that mural, I wanted to show the edible plants, but just how abundant they were and the different parts of the plants that you can eat. So it was trying to tie in these ideas of food and place and movement and abundance. I would love that to be the bigger purpose of my work, is getting people to stop and notice their place, but each other as well. I think there's a lot of value in taking in what's around us and looking at it in a different way. So I think that artwork, and particularly public artwork, has a real avenue to do that for people, because it doesn't require someone to have the ability to go into an exhibition, you know, and I think for a broader community, something like that could be quite intimidating, to go and engage with art in an exhibition. And so this idea of enlivening spaces, making them more vibrant, making them safer, making them welcome, helping people to connect with them in a different way, and making art that is able to be interpreted by all sorts of people from different backgrounds on the level that they want to interpret it, I think is really a beautiful thing about public artwork, and I guess what I'm trying to do in the world. And this is why I've been trying to do more mentoring, so more people come into the industry. You know, if people want to get into mural painting, it's really fantastic to be like, well, this is how I did it, and these are other avenues that might work, and I would suggest doing this and this, because why try and keep it secret? I think it's a valuable thing for there to be more than less, and more variance than less. I'm at about year 4 of murals now, so I'm kind of feeling that itch again for like, what's that next step? Because although I do murals, and some of them it's purely my work, but a lot of it's still for clients, and clients' perspectives come into what I'm creating. And I think I'm really feeling that desire now to create work that is purely my own and putting it out in the world. And that's a really exciting and somewhat scary step for someone like me who's always been a commercial creative. And yes, my work and my ideas come out through client commercial briefs, but still at the end of the day, a lot of that work that I have done is for somebody else and for a specific purpose. So I've actually just got my first studio that I've ever had. So that's in the last kind of couple of months at Salamanca Arts Centre. So that's going to be that next step of, can I turn this into becoming an artist?